welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that just asked himself what he has become. It's Johnny Numb.
Yeah, I think what I've just become is a gas siphoner. Is that a band? Is that a band? Yeah, no, gas huffer, I mean, yeah.
Whoa, I was going to ask you if you and I were in a hardcore band, like a hardcore punk, or there's so many different variations of the genre. But if we're in a hardcore band, like we're like the Japandroids, just a two-man act. We're the White Stripes, the Japandroids, something like that. We're going across the country. I think you nailed our name, the Gas Siphoners.
Yeah, I mean, I could get with that.
Wow, and we would play just little restaurants in front of 8 people who were captivated.
Yes.
Make $6 a show.
I don't know if captivated is the right word, no. Mark, but yeah.
This movie, so I was listening to the commentary by Green Room, one of my favorite movies. Actually, it's one of my top 5 favorite movies of the last 10 years, hands down. I think it's perfect. James Gunn thinks it's perfect. On the Movies, Films, and Flicks podcast, we said it was the best horror film of the decade, which I still back up. So I was just looking through this list that we did on the podcast. So Zach Beckler joined us. He's the director of this really good horror movie called Interior that you can find on Amazon Prime. He's currently in pre-pro on his next movie. But I was looking through this episode we did, and our number 1 is Green Room, our number 2 is Climax, our number 3 is Under the Skin, number 4, Get Out, number 5, Raw, number 6, It Follows, number 7, Bone Tomahawk, number 8, Hereditary, number 9, The Neon Demon, and number 10, The Blackcoat's Daughter. I love that. And listen, you should know, I love this list. I think it's a good list. I love this list. It's funky enough, but it has the hits. So it's not like a total hipster list, but we're not picking cute either. Does that make sense, Johnny Numb?
No, absolutely, Mark. And actually, I know we were talking before off mic, and I said I might disagree with 1 or 2 of those. I only disagree with 1 of those, really. And the other ones are like solid gold, I think, too. So, yeah.
There's an episode of The Last Knock that you're on. Great podcast, by the way. You and Billy Crash. So listen to The Last Knock. Also, read all of Johnny Numb's stuff. Follow him on Twitter. Awesome. You'll love his reviews. They're much better than mine. That's all I can say. Whenever I read him, I get jealous. And not jealous. There's no jealousy. I just go, man, this guy's good. You got it. This dude nails it. So go read his stuff.
But you know what, Mark? I love the squirrely angles you find for your stuff. And I'm like, I could never do what you do because I'm like, I don't. Those like tiny little angles that you find are just like so out there, but they lead to some really interesting observations.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. I was totally fishing for a compliment. That's why I jumped in there and said how great your reviews were. I'm like, you better say it. There's an episode though where you are defending Climax from Billy Crash, and you are making so Billy. I love Billy, but you were not changing his mind. So you'll be like, so in this scene, there's this one take, really long, really excellent shots. All these bodies are in motion. They're one, but then they all fall apart, and it's kind of tragic. He's like, nah, it sucks. And then you go, but then they're kind of doing this really interesting thing. He's like, nah. And I just kept going, man, this is so good. Like, come on, Bill. Like, I was just waiting for him to have that, wait, you're right moment. And I love it that he didn't. He stuck to his guns. But I just kept...
He always does, yeah.
And I love it, though, but you kept bringing up these really interesting facts. And not facts, but just really interesting ways to look at it. And I'm in the car nodding my head like an idiot. People are looking at me going, what is this guy listening to? But yeah, so I loved your take on Climax, by the way, because that's our second favorite. I mean, I adore... That movie punched me in the face. And so did Green Room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Both of them in very unique and different ways, but they're both movies that center around music as well, so it's kind of interesting in that regard.
Oh, wow. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Now, I want to bring something up to you. I was reading this. I was actually watching this video about how it's called How Dumb Decisions Matter, and they were talking about Green Room. Mm-hmm. And the guy drew a parallel to another movie where people make dumb decisions, but in this movie, he said that people make dumb decisions in a smart way because it's Jeremy Saulnier. But I don't think the decisions in this movie are dumb. It kind of it has like 1 million views, and he's talking about how there's dumb decisions in Green Room. But the thing about Green Room is, these kids in the Ain't Rights, they are in a position that's so over their heads. They don't know what's going on. They don't know how real the threat is. They don't know that they have dogs that are killers. They don't know that they will be shot in the face. They don't know that their hands will be sawed off. The only person who knows this is Imogen Poots' character. She kind of gets it. Amber knows what's going to happen. when you're talking about dumb decisions, so I don't think you can make dumb decisions when it's light. Sometimes, okay, so if you go upstairs to look in your guest bedroom, if you hear a noise, that might be dumb.
Yeah.
Or if you leave your house to go into the woods without a flashlight, that's stupid.
Right.
That's stupid. But if you, I don't like it when people say, I would do this during this situation where my life is at stake. I burnt my finger one time and I started screaming. Like I was like, oh my gosh, my finger. Now imagine if you're in a life or death situation. You're not thinking. You don't, I don't think these kids knew how real Darcy and his red laces were.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you think that there were dumb, quote unquote, dumb decisions made in this movie? Because it kind of annoys me that there's a narrative about this. And I'm not hating, I just don't see the movie like that.
So, Mark, is this like a YouTube channel like CinemaSins or something like that, where they just pick apart stuff?
I think it's Film School Rejects.
Okay, all right. You know what? I think the thing with Green Room is these characters make decisions that make sense as the situation gradually escalates and as the dawning realizations of what they're thick into, basically, what's going on. The more they start to see the reality of the situation, the more they start to think on their feet and faster. And granted, not all of their decisions are very, I don't want to say they're not smart. Like what you were saying, I don't think they're dumb decisions. I think these are decisions that make sense given the logic of the situation, honestly. I'm thinking of a moment where I don't know how much we want to get into spoiler territory with this movie.
Spoil everything.
Well, Reese, played by Jake Cole, he's sort of the
the jiu-jitsu master, the badass.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu ultimate fighter guy. There's this thing, he gives this speech where it's like, you know what, the longer we stay in this room, the more likely it is we're going to die in here. And in that moment, that line of logic sounds actually pretty sensible. It's like, we got to arm ourselves with what we got, and we just maybe got to make a run for it and see what happens. And granted, it's interesting because he's presented as kind of the tough, badass character, kind of the hothead, I think. Mm-hmm. And he makes this decision, oh, this window's open, I'm going to jump out this window. And immediately someone is waiting there to, give it to him, basically.
Stab him multiple times. And what's interesting, too, about this? I was talking to my wife, Megan, who's on the show a lot, and we were talking. And so I have a background. So I wrestled. I also boxed. Yeah. And I did a lot of jiu-jitsu. I trained MMA for a long time, but then I realized concussions aren't fun. So I stopped. And I was also a bouncer in a bar, a hardcore music bar, where all these bands played, and I had to break up dancing all the time.
Yeah.
But, like, jiu-jitsu, when he's talking about, it works really great with Big Justin, Eric Edelstein, because you're using body weight, you can snap limbs. A lot of people half my size could take me down and rip my arm off just because they know body motion and know how to do that. So, but that's a one-on-one thing. So a lot of these tournaments that he's talking about, you're one-on-one. And so when he goes out there, I bet you hand-to-hand combat, he could take anybody there. But these kids have machetes, guns, and there's attack dogs and knives. Right. So he has this elevated confidence, but I think that elevated confidence is what leads to his demise. But when you look at Sam, played by Alia Shawkat, she grabs a fire extinguisher and she blinds them. She buys herself time. When you look at Pat, he kind of absorbs and watches. When you look at Amber, she knows the gravity of the situation, so she is more wary of what can happen. The two first victims are Tiger in the band, right, are Tiger and Reese. And I think they're the ones that go in there without thinking. Do I think that's dumb? No. I just think they're, they got the size, they're big dudes, and so they go into it, and that's what leads to their deaths. But that's why this movie hits me so hard, because you like them. And Jeremy Saulnier said this in his commentary. He just said, I wanted to just get you to like these people, and then I wanted to hurt people. Like, he wanted to just make you feel this violence. And also, one more thing, I'm talking a lot, but me, man, we're both in love with this movie, so I'm like...
absolutely. It's no problem, because I could go on and on about it, too, so yeah.
So I'll go on and on, then I'll let you go on and on. And it's like the Mitch Hedberg joke where he says he plugs up his mic cord, and when he lets it loose, a bunch of jokes come out. That's what I am with this movie. And I was talking about the violence in this movie, and I brought this up in another show where there was this TV show. It was a network TV show where there are these spies, and there's a new spy, and he met this woman, and they supposedly fell in love. They became boyfriend and girlfriend, but it turned out she was bad, and she double-crossed him. He got annoyed by that. Like, he was, oh, you hurt me and you betrayed me. He just killed her in cold blood, and then everyone made a joke about it, and they went and drank whiskey. And I was shocked by it. The comical taking of life with no consequences. And I really can't stand that. And that's why I've really enjoyed our feel-good series that we've done with Elle and the house that Jack built and dragged across concrete, because the violence is just so, it's so heavy. And in this movie, the violence plays very real. It's brutal, it's fast, none of it's pretty, it's ugly, and it's bloody. And I think this is some of these movies, I think this and Blue Ruin especially, and Hold the Dark and Murder Party, but that's more heightened, I guess. But just the violence is so. What did the guy say to them about their song that was hard? Didn't he say that was hard as
He just said, that's hard, man. That's the one I did. That's the one I did her to.
Like
that
movie's hard. Like, the violence is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you like that about this film?
I definitely think it's something that makes it extremely effective. I mean, it's not a gore fest. And Jeremy Saulnier is fantastic, as he was in Blue Ruin, I think, at really building tension, because for a while we're just kind of left with a situation where we're not sure how it's going to shake out, and it's all these characters in the titular room talking to someone on the other side of a door, and it's like, for a long time there's not a lot of quote-unquote action going on, and then when it ramps up, it's like, oh my god, it does, like, it hits with, like, really fast, bracing impact. It's like it sounds cheesy to say, but it is an edge of your seat kind of thing where you're probably like clamping down on the armrests, because it is so effective, and it's really rendered, he lets us see enough of it, basically. And the way he photographs it is clever. The scene where Pat fatefully opens that door to toss the gun. And that scene, oh my God, I saw it in the theater twice, and actually watching it several times on Blu-ray since, I still get chills down my spine just in the lead up to that scene, and just knowing where it's going to go, it still works me over every time. So
the practical effects are beautiful on this film. I mean, they are very effective. They're scarce, but they're so strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's excellent. And like, it's just kind of crazy, and that's what I like about this movie. And what Saulnier said about that scene is that's when he wanted people to realize that it was real when that happened. Because, right? I mean, how many people are gonna think to themselves, "I'm gonna get my hands sawed off"? Is that really? Oh, yeah. I mean, when you see that, you know it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Well, and I love the whole thing where there's, again, it's like a testament to how fast the movie goes, because while Pat's getting ready to open up the door, Amber does something smart. She kneels down next to like an air conditioning vent or something like that, and she can see out into the hallway. So she sees a set of shoes. Okay, it's like it's Darcy, played by Patrick Stewart, talking to him, but she turns her head a little bit, and there's another pair of shoes out there, and then he gets his arm yanked out into the hallway, and then it gets hacked up. And it's just fantastic, because it's like, oh my God, what's going on there? You can't see it because the door's obscuring what's happening. We see Tiger hitting someone with like a board or like a yardstick or something, trying to pull Pat back into the room. And I think what really gets to me about that scene, Mark, just for instance, is the way Anton Yelchin, the dearly departed Anton Yelchin, the way he just bawls when they pull him back in. It is like a child's cry. And it's like, there's something so freaking vulnerable about the way he sounds and the way he looks with his eyes pinned shut. It's like a baby crying. And I'm like, God, I would be right. I would probably be worse than that. That's just, it's horrifying what